Ask the Podcast Coach for June 21st, 2014.
Let's get ready to podcast.
Oh, it is Saturday morning. It's 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Are you awake? Have you gotten your coffee yet? Welcome to Ask the Podcast Coach, where we take your podcasting questions live. You can call in. It's 845-262-2401. And we're going to talk about a question today. This is the Internet's #1 podcast where we take calls live on a Google Hangout with a guy named Jim and Dave.
Saturday morning at 9:30
Saturday at 10:30 Eastern Standard. Don't be fooled by other shows. This is the #1 show about podcasting live with Hangouts and fish fries, blah, blah, blah. Etc. So you can find us at askthepodcastcoach.com/live. Or if you just feel something a little different, you can always go to schoolofpodcasting.com/live. But I think eventually we're just going to go askthepodcastcoach.com/. We're just going to it's weird. I'm working my own brand out of the brand, but I just want to make things easy. So that's where we're headed with that. But yeah, if you want to call in, that number is, of course, 845-262-2401. That number again, 845-262-2401. And live lines are available now. And here's a fun tip. Last week, Jim, on episode number 30, I believe it was, at askthepodcastcoach.com, you can find all of our old shows. You had great tips on live, and I have a new one. Always use your phone for the correct time, because right now mine says it's, what does it say? 5 till 9.
Yeah, it's not like you don't have one on your computer there.
Yeah, well, that's what, finally I looked down in my upper, down right-hand, yeah, that thing. I looked down there, the bottom right-hand corner, and was like, wait, it's 5 till 10? I'm like, it can't be. And then I looked at my phone, I'm like, wow, it's 5 till 10. So I had to put everything on hold, and that lovely thing I call show prep, yeah, that kind of went out the window a little bit today.
It'll sneak up on you. Well, we had some problems. We had some technical problems. One of the things I think, the PC, typically, I don't change anything. I leave everything just like it is. I don't make any major changes on the early in the weekend because I don't want to screw up this podcast. And so I haven't done anything. I just sat here last night and watched movies. I've done nothing. And so when you called at 10 minutes till or whatever it was, the show, Zippo. And so you just have to adjust, right? You just can't panic. You're like, all right, I got it. There's only a few things that can be wrong. So
yeah.
Maybe
we'll talk about that today, troubleshooting.
Yeah,
but those lovely tones are coming out of the one, the only Jim Collison from theaverageguy.tv. And if I didn't introduce myself, I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting. And joining us now, ending in 6542, we actually have a caller. So what's your name, what's your podcast, and what's your question? You're on with Dave and Jim.
My name is Joe Consford, I'm with themorningmeditation.com. And I have a question about doing a contest to get more listeners to subscribe to my show. What is your thoughts on that, and do you have any great ideas?
Well, there are a couple. Number one, this is slowly becoming the norm. There are those of us that go, back in the day, we used to earn our reviews. We didn't give stuff away. But on the other hand, I think people are going to go, hey, it's just business, man. If it works, if that gets me to the top of the charts, whatever, I'm going to step right over you. If you go to mywifequitherjob.com is one. Ray Edwards, I'm a huge Ray Edwards fan. He said, holding up a piece of literature from the one, the only Ray Edwards, is doing a thing now where you, if you gave him a review, he was going to give away a $700 product and or autographed copies of his book. Now, the fun part is, how do you prove somebody wrote the review? That's the tricky part. And so people are doing things like they're actually asking their, I think the guy with mywifequitherjob.com, I think he had you send in a screenshot, and then you had to send it in. There's a lot of hoops. That's the problem with it. it's not super easy to kind of manufacture. And the other question I think you have to look into, who did I talk to that said it's not against Apple's terms, so I don't think you're getting trouble with Apple. The problem is figuring out how to prove that somebody wrote you, like, this review is from me, because I could go into iTunes and look up somebody's review and go, hey Ray, that one there from Happy Pig 27 is really Dave. So that's going to be some of the fun part.
Dave, it doesn't have to be for reviews, though. Not everybody gives away stuff or does contests solely based on a review. So
yeah, is that what you're talking about, Joe, or are you talking about iTunes?
I'm talking about maybe like some kind of an email contest, or where people forwarded emails saying, "Hey, listen to this show," and then get them to maybe respond saying, "Hey, I got this email from so-and-so." Do you think that would work or not at all?
Well, Joe, I think they do work. I think the audience, it depends on your audience to the effectiveness of that and the engagement that they have in the product that you're giving away. I have a tech audience, and I thought giving away tech stuff would create that kind of frenzy of like, hey, we're going to give away a Drobo, and if you forward this on and do these things and send emails, right? Because you're trying to get that viralness with the contest. You're using the item as kind of bait, and you're like, hey, if you do this, then maybe a few of them will stick. And I found my audience did not appreciate or do that. They just like, I got enough tech. I don't know if I need you to give me tech in that kind of way. So for my audience, I quit doing it just because I felt like it wasn't working. But I've seen other podcasters. I think Callie Lewis probably does this better than anybody in some of the things that she does. And I think those Google Plus posts, those tweets, those things, I think those go viral. I don't know if I do email. That it's a broken system, and spam filters, and you don't get it, and those kinds of things. But I think I might work on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or those platforms if you think your audience will grab onto it.
I've done them in the past where for my Marketing Musician podcast, I made a flyer in Microsoft Word, and at the bottom I had little tear-offs where people could pull away the URL, and I said, look, go hang this in your local music store and take a picture of it and send me the picture, and I'll give you a copy of my book. So it was a way to get my audience to go out and evangelize and put my marketing material where my audience was. So that's I kind of got them to go out and do that for me. And my way of saying thank you was, oh, by the way, here's my book. I do a podcast called Weekly Web Tools, and I review. Now, I've never used this particular plugin, but there's a plugin called Contest Blitz. If you go to weeklywebtools.com/contest blitz, BLITZ, it's a plugin that you can basically use your WordPress for. There are actually a bunch. There's Contest Domination. I don't believe that one is free, but there are all sorts of built-in tools to help you do that. And one is called Contest. I went over to Weekly Web Tools and just typed in Contest in the search bar, and I can see one is called Contest Machine.
Dave, so there was a program called Rafflecopter for a while. Mike Howard and I used this for a while, and it was free or sort of free, a freemium kind of thing. It was really good, and then it got really bad. They kind of like changed their business model, but there were a few websites that popped up to help you kind of manage. This is the hard part too. If you're going to have them do things and record things, you really need a mechanism to be able to get that done. And Rafflecopter was one of those. They're still out there, I think. I haven't used them in a while. So, Joe, that might be an option, too. If you look, good idea, bad idea. Again, I think it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do and what you're doing with it. I don't know if Dave and I can give you a definitive answer there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything wrong with them. Let's face it, hey, it's the phrase that pays on Tuesday. It seems to work for radio. I always now there is a part of me that goes, wow, really, you have to pay people to listen to your station? They're giving. Every hour we're giving away $200 to the lucky winner and free tickets to the burn-off. I don't know, but it's worth a shot. As always, try one, see if it works, ask your audience what they thought, and tweak. So.
Joe, I think you're thinking, though, of trying to get your listeners to get other listeners, right? That's for us, that's the kind of key. I don't know.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Addie, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm just going to pronounce it like it looks. Addie Sauce Dough. Do or dough?
Maybe she can put the phonetic pronunciation in the chat.
And put your website in the chat room. Addie did something really cool on her website. I was poking around. Why? Now here's a little. Let's peel back the curtain here. Addie has shown up, I think, to 2 or 3 podcasters roundtable, and I'm like, all right, here's somebody who is interested in my stuff, and I always say names, not numbers, and I'm like, I need to go investigate me some Addie sauce dough. Addie. We'll just call her Addie. How's that? And so I went over to her website, which is MVR. Help me, Addie. It's something with an M. Something Vintage Radio. MVR. I remember that part. Your branding part's working there. I forget the rest of your domain name, so put that in there. And she actually made a video on how to subscribe. Like, she pulled up her phone and said, here's how you do this on a Android. Now, what's interesting is she was showing how to saucy dow. Wow, would not have. That's why we're going to call you Addie. What's your website? And again, you can find the chat that we talk about at askthepodcastcoach.com/live. And she made a nice little video on how to basically consume her podcast, mvrshow.com. Why couldn't I remember show? Wow. And to me, I was like, that's what I think we all need to do, is come up with a cool video to explain to people how to subscribe to podcasts and things like that. Now, the good news is if you haven't heard, modernvintageradio.com also works. Whenever the next version of iOS, which is the operating system for all things Mac, iPads, iPhones, the Podcasts app will be installed automatically. So now where we have to go, hey, go to your app store, download podcasts, and then find me, that first step will be gone.
Hey, Joe, what have you tried so far?
I haven't tried anything so far.
Okay. Right.
And I'm just trying to get some ideas together. And later today, I was going to ask. Right, but go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. Later today, I was going to ask people to send an email asking them to reply to me with the person who sent them the email, saying that they got that email, and then whoever got the most people to email me, I was going to give them a book. But I don't know if that'll work or not.
If you feel like, just try it. I mean, I think that's the beauty of it. Really, a lot of these marketing efforts, especially if you're giving away your own book, there's no cost if you don't give any away. So if it doesn't work, the cost of failure is very, very small. So you might as well give that a shot and give a test. Every audience is a little bit different. You might be surprised. You might think about, if you've got a Twitter following, you might think about doing something like that with tweeting, right? You tweet something, if they retweet it, they get put in a drawing, right? Like the Facebook page, right. Something along those lines. Yeah, I would give it a try. Sample those various social networks and measure it and see what kind of response you get. And if it's a great response, hey, go with what works and keep giving it a try. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, and we got some great comments from the chat room. Mike Howard here is saying one problem that they had with contests where people win stuff is no one wants to let other people know about it because they know the smaller number of people that are involved, the better chances they are to win.
It is self-defeating.
Yeah, and then a lot of people are just saying that the general sentiment is keep it simple. Whatever it is you're doing, don't make it, okay, what you need to do is if you send the email and then, post it on the Twitter and then, give me a like on Facebook, and then if you make them too many hoops, nobody's going to jump through it, depending on, I guess, what you're going to do. And then I was waiting for somebody to say this, Ryan Parker from foodcraftsman.com has chimed in. You may also want to check with the old contest sweepstake rules for your state, because in some cases, it's kind of illegal. And that's where we all get to say together, I'm not a lawyer. Jim, are you a lawyer?
I am not a lawyer.
Yeah, so...
Does that help, Joe?
That helps. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. What's your website, Joe?
themorningmeditation.com.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit about your show. What can I expect when I go over there?
It's a daily podcast about... it's a daily devotional podcast is what it is. Every morning I read a devotion that has been written by an older past friend of mine, and he's no longer able to do public speaking, but he writes them and I read them.
That's cool.
Sounds like a good combo.
I like that. Excellent. Well, thank you, Joe. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Man, right. that contest question can be a Pandora's box. I mean, opening that and figuring out, and it seems like it's waned a little bit. It seems like for a while everybody was doing contests, and now it's kind of waned. So
yeah, we'll see here. That makes me want to go back and look at that. So we have another caller ending in 1383. So as always, what's your name? What's your question? What's your website?
Yeah, hi Dave and Jim. It's my name's Michael. I'm calling from using the Magic Jack app I'm in Australia.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to get giddy for just a second.
It's really early.
What time is it there?
It's at night actually. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. Well, cool. Well, what's your question, Mark? Thanks for calling in.
Okay, I'm trying to do like a roundtable podcast / Google Hangout. All the guests are from all different parts around the world, but I'm just trying to work out they're not really into podcasting as such. I'm just using them for their expertise, but they don't have the equipment or the mics and all that stuff to get a really good quality, and they don't really want to go out and spend it. I just want to know, is there any other way how I can go about that, making the quality of the show a bit better?
Well, the problem is, so like, are you saying like, can we use the phone instead of the computer?
Oh no, it's like everyone's happy to use the Google Hangout.
Okay.
But they don't have they don't want to spend money on mics or webcams and all that sort of stuff. They just want to use the stuff that comes on their laptops or their computers.
Yeah. Well, the only thing you can do there is have them get as close to the microphone as possible, but it is unfortunately kind of a garbage in, garbage out. You can do things later. You can download the Hangout as a video and strip the audio out and try to squeeze it and massage it and make it sound like somebody's not sitting in front of their laptop. But the bad news is somebody was sitting in front of their laptop.
Yeah.
And
when I do that, I get in front of take it over to the program. It still sounds really bad. Like we've done a couple of tests, and it's just I'm afraid to put it to go live because just the quality isn't really there.
Mark, are you getting echo problems too because they're not using earbuds?
No. They're all using the headbuds. It's just the quality of their mics aren't good, and the video cams and all that sort of stuff. It's just because they're like we'll be having people from the States and also in Europe, and I'm in Australia, so it's sort of you're saying that you purchase a mic and send it out to people. You know what I mean? And I can't do that.
Yeah. Hey, do they have because I actually did a podcast with a guy coming in on his Galaxy S3 or is it an S4 maybe. With some of the newer modern smartphones, those microphones are actually really good. And so have you tried having them connect to the Hangout on their phone and come in and come through? Have you tried that yet?
No, I haven't. No, I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, it's something that the next episode of the School of Podcasting, I'm going to have Scott Johnson, who does the Computer Tutor show, and you can find him at computertutorflorida.com. And he was having apparently in Florida, when you have a thunderstorm, you do not mess around. It was like a major thing. And he's like, hey, just so you know, I need to shut down my computer, blah, blah, blah. But he keeps his Wi-Fi going. And he said, if you want, we can try to connect. We were connecting via Skype. And I'm like, well, we'll try this. We'll see what it sounds like. So I dialed him on Skype, and he's like, all right, hey, this is Scott. I'm like, okay, did you pick up? It sounds like you picked up on your computer. And he goes, no, this is the phone. And I was amazed at how well, I mean, it didn't sound quite as good, but it was, I'm like, are you sure this is your phone? And he goes, no, I'm telling you right now, the computer shut off. So I'm assuming even though we were using Skype, the same would be for a Hangout, especially if the person is somewhere where their phone is on Wi-Fi. Because I know yesterday I tried to connect to a Hangout in my car, and using whatever I have from Verizon, and it was like, nah, I don't think so. It timed out. But if there's somewhere where they can connect their phone to Wi-Fi, Jim, have you ever had anybody with the phone with just their?
Yeah, no, I did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and I got 10 minutes into the podcast, and I said, hey, did you get a new microphone? And he was like, no, I'm just coming off my Galaxy S4. And it sounded really good, and so I think that's Mark. I think that's worth a test for you. Try, if they're here in the United States, chances are if they have a smartphone that's a year or newer, they're going to be on 4G, and so they don't even have to be on Wi-Fi. In some cases, 4G is faster than their Wi-Fi they could get in some of their area, and so I would definitely give that a test and have them come in on their phone. iPhone or Android should be absolutely fine. Windows Phone would work too, but I'd give that a try.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that a try.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, it was great meeting you.
Yeah. Any other questions before we cut you loose?
No, that's it. That's all I was after. Thank you.
Yeah, where can we find your podcast?
Oh, it's going to be called the Sim Racers Roundtable, but
it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, no, it doesn't exist yet. No, we're still doing a lot of testing, and
right.
So we want to get it right the first time. So,
well, when you're ready to go, send me an email with the heading Quick Start, and if you want, I can send you a link where you order hosting through my affiliate link, and then I'll go in and install WordPress for you and all the plugins, and give you a free month at the School of Podcasting when you're ready to go.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, I was really amazed at that when just the sound of a microphone on a phone these days. I was like, wow.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot better. I mean, what's interesting is when I first got our S4, my wife and I we bought it at the same time, and she called me. You know that thing, a phone call when you talk to each other on the phone, and it sounded good. I'm like, what the, what? Because usually it's that, you can barely hear it. And this was like really good quality, and so I think that's taking advantage of those devices for those types of things. Might be even worth, if you've gotten a new smartphone recently, might be worth getting into a room and turning on the speakerphone and hit record and run some test files just to see how good your phone is, because that might be. We talk about all these mobile. I know just on Podcasters Roundtable, you guys just talked about mobile devices or mobile recording, right? Mm-hmm. You might have a dynamite mobile recorder right there in your phone, and you don't have to go get a Roland, or you don't have to get a Tascam, or you don't have to do some of those things.
This is a little thing called a camera kit that you basically plug a USB end into it, and this goes, in this case, into my iPhone 5, and you got Auphonic right there. You could get Boss Jock. You can do all sorts of stuff with just your phone. So Addie says, I asked her in the chat room, we'll keep kind of playing on and off the whole contest thing. This is one of the things I like about this show. We just kind of keep circling different things, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about some more Skype conversations. But in terms of keeping things simple, she just had a contest to get more likes, and basically went in, and whoever says you had to, let's see, just to gain likes, all you had to do was answer what will you be spending the $15 Amazon gift card on. So, and then obviously you get a $15 Amazon card.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And there's different ways to do it. I think it's measure your audience and figure out because it's really all about the value that's in it for them, right? When you think about a contest, it's not so much what you're giving away. I mean, that's important, but when you're doing these viral contests where you want people to retweet it or like it or whatever, you have to ask the question, what's in it for the listener, right? What do they get out of it? And so people want to know and be known, right? And so if it gives them they have to feel some kind of emotional attachment to it to actually do it. And so if I'm going to tweet it, you're going to retweet it, and maybe that increases their. I mean, if you have a whole bunch of social marketers, all they want to do is increase their followers. So you could do anything to increase the people who follow them. That would be great. There's other people who don't want a bunch of followers, right? They just really want good conversation, and so maybe it's something around the quality of the conversation. So you got to think through it. I don't think there's an automatic to do this. I've done them all, and they've worked with some success, but others didn't work. Dave, real quick, one of the things I've talked about this before, but where we've landed on contests is this tech scholarship fund that I have on my site, where what we figured out is there was just some guys could buy stuff and some guys couldn't, and so they can send me a note and say, hey, I'd like you to buy this for me, and then I'll test it, review it, and put it on your site. That increases engagement in what I do from a podcasting standpoint, because now they're invested. They've written an article for the averageguy.tv, and we post it. For some people, that's a big deal, right? So it's just one of those things that we found. So that's how I promote my Amazon link, and I say, hey, look, we take those dollars, we turn them around back into giveaways that people petition for. So we're just not giving away whatever. We're giving away stuff people actually need and want to use, and so that might be a way. That's how I've tweaked the contest deal to make it work for me.
And like you said, I think it starts with having something people want. Because if it's like, hey, if you tweet this, you get a, wet fish. It's like, not really sure I'm down for that at this point.
You get a cold fish head.
It's a cheese straightener. Welcome, So, at any rate, hey, you want to join in the conversation? It's super easy. We got open phone lines at the moment. It is 845-262-2401. Again, 845-262-2401. Jim, what are your thoughts on the whole, you're listening to the #1 podcast about smelt. Welcome to Smeltcast. The #1, it's like, what? Does that bug you?
No, it doesn't bug me. I think, we stretch it. I'm chuckling inside and even out because Mike Howard and I have talked about this before as well. As he's on his side, he'll say he's the #1 photography podcast.
Right.
That is live. He's got some of those, so it's not quite as egregious as what you're talking about. But
okay.
So we smile about that, and he knows what he's doing with that. I think there's some, if you're in a niche and you can comfortably say you are the #1, I think there's a little bit of value in that, and I think it's you're over exaggerating to make a point, and I think as long as it's not in your face, and you don't get really nasty about it, with people like you're smacking down other podcasts in the process, I think you're okay from that standpoint. I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me.
Somebody asked me about that in a Facebook group today. I'm like, that's a good question for the show. But, hey, speaking of the show, ending in 3415, yet another caller. I love
this
it.
This is a record. This has got to be a record, I think, today. So.
That's right. So what's your name and the drill, your name, your website, your question, all that fun stuff. Thanks for calling in. You're on.
Hi, Dave. This is Addie.
Hey. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm nervous to be on, but
are you kidding me?
What you guys do.
There's nothing to be.
How do you pronounce your last name correctly for us?
It's Saucedo.
Saucedo. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I jokingly say you can go ahead and just call me, Soft Dew. That works too.
Saucy Dew. I think that's what we were landing on.
Yeah.
Well.
My question is, I have that MDR show. The podcast has pod faded for now, but I'm under rebranding right now.
Okay.
And then once that kicks off, I have a couple interviews in the can, but really it's going to be taking a different shift, new branding, new everything. But one thing that's kind of stumped me on the process of rebranding is it's on a Genesis theme frame. Mm-hmm. Can I just slap on any other premium theme on it without disabling that, or do I have to disable the Genesis frame on that?
Depends on if you're buying a child theme, you actually need the Genesis framework. But let's say you switch to something like, I don't know, Thesis, although I don't recommend that anymore. I always tell people themes are like clothes, and unless you want to be really, really hot, you typically take off the three-piece suit to put on the casual thing. So you can't really you can have multiple plugins, but you can't have multiple themes. So unless you're doing another child theme.
How do you know if it's...
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. How do you know if it's a child theme? I just went on ahead and put the theme that I'm planning to put on the site. I don't know if that's going to help, but I don't know if it's a child theme.
Let's find out.
I think, Addie, you would know if it's a child theme or not because there's a little extra work that you have to go into to make, to have the theme and then to make a child out of it. And if you just installed the theme and started working on it, chances are you haven't installed a theme with the child theme. It's just a standard theme. So did you go through any extra hoops to install it, or was it pretty much just put the theme in and go right to work?
Well, I have it on the dummy site right now, and it was really easy to install because I didn't want to just slap it into my live site right now. And from what I can tell, it's really easy. There's nothing really hard about it. So what just kind of gets me nervous is putting it on the actual site that has the Genesis framework on it.
Well, here's the beauty of it. What you'll do is you'll go into your WordPress, you'll go into themes, and you'll say install theme. And what it is, again, think of it like clothes. So when you think about it, your clothes use the same skeleton you have. It's your same arm, it's your same legs. It's just going to make them look a little different. Mm-hmm. So you'll install the theme, and then you can say, okay, go ahead and activate it. And what I usually do is I usually right-click. When you're in WordPress, in the upper left-hand corner, I think you have the name of your site. You can right-click on that and open it in a new tab. So I'll go over to that tab, and that will be the new theme. And if I look at it and I like it, we're good. If I don't like it, I can instantly switch back to the first tab and go, ooh, let's go back to Genesis because something's weird here or something like that. So it's super easy to just switch back and forth. It's like taking off a shirt and putting on a new one. So I usually do that if I can, late at night, so that in theory my maximum traffic isn't at its best or whatever. But it's not a big deal if you
as long as you don't delete it from that page, right? I mean,
yeah.
Addie, at a basic, WordPress themes are really at the folder level behind the scenes. So if you go back, if you look at your, if you go into the actual file structure of your website, you'll just see these themes are just folders. And so as long as a folder's there and you can get back to it, you won't ruin that theme, the old theme. Like Dave said, if you put the new one on and you don't like it, you can just revert back in most cases, and everything will still be there. And so that does give you a little bit of comfort in trying it. You're very, very smart, by the way, to test it on a different site before you do that. So good job of getting that done as well. So nice work there. But Genesis, the framework, it's a folder really on there. And so once you go to a new theme, you stop. It stops using that folder or stops using those files on your file server. So it's still there though. It won't go away unless you delete it.
Yeah, and then
okay.
I would like to know, why are you moving away from Genesis?
Well, because I just honestly, to be honest, when I first started, I didn't know anything about WordPress. Mm-hmm. So I hired somebody to do that website that you see now, and it's nowhere near what I wanted and what I paid for. So within time, I just started to learn things myself and got more comfortable with WordPress. Even went to a couple WordPress camps. What is it called? WordCamp?
Yeah.
And I feel more comfortable now. So now I just want to go and go ahead and do my own design, put my own spin on it, and kind of find something that I want. But till this day, I don't really understand Genesis.
There you go.
I know it's a certain framework for a certain type of theme. Well, yeah, that's one thing I just don't understand.
The reason, because Mike Howard asked in the chat room, Dave, why don't you recommend Genesis themes? And it's not that I don't recommend them. It just, I want a lot of my audience, they're not techie people, and they want to be able to change the header. They want to be able to change the color of stuff, and they maybe want to say, hey, instead of having the sidebar on the right, I'd like it on the left. And most of the themes I've seen, you can't do that stuff without, and everybody's like, oh, you just adjust the CSS. I'm like, yeah, if you don't know CSS, then. And so it's weird. You on one hand, one end of the spectrum, you have themes that you have to kind of know some coding. And now it seems like everybody's coming out with these super themes. It does everything. It slices, it dices, it even juliennes. And the only kind of, I don't know if it's a downside, but when you put all your eggs in that theme bucket, what if the support isn't there or things like that? But it's the only thing I could think of. But
Mike does make a good point that across themes, if you like on Genesis, if you have a particular plugin that's working, you've got it configured in a way, or specialization, customization, and you move to a new theme, you may break that functionality in the new theme, and you have to reset it up or tweak it slightly. So some things won't just move across themes without, you could break some functionality. So you have to be careful with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now with the dummy site, is just trying to see
Yeah.
what I can do on the front end and prepare, and I'm documenting everything that I'm doing.
That's
so
a
that
super
when I
great
do
idea.
switch it over, it's not so much of a pain when it comes to, oh my God, if somebody lands on this page, I'm screwed, and it's going to look horrible.
Well, one of the things you can do too is go over to your live site, and I want to say it's under tools. The other tools, it's got to be tools. You can export your posts and pages and then import those into your fake site, so you actually see what your content will look like with that theme. So you're basically making a clone, for lack of a better phrase, at least of the content, because really behind the scenes, that's kind of what's going on. Your content is in a database, and then when you go to a website, WordPress makes it kind of assemble in a certain way that looks a certain way, pulling the data from here and the colors from there, and it just kind of all dynamically assembles. So.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. This is really, I'm going to do that, export the files and then upload it to the dummy site.
There you go.
I think that's going to help me a lot.
And see, the call wasn't so bad now, was it? Nothing,
no,
nothing to be worried about, nothing to be scared about. So,
and the funny thing is, we podcast, but the second we call into some shows, we get freaked out.
Well, it's still that number one fear of people is speaking live in public, and so we get a little, I get a little nervous every time I hit record, and I had, just for the record, we're gonna we've been peeling back curtains lately. I did an interview this week and looked over, and my SD card was full. Hadn't done that one in a while. Where you're like, oh hey, we have to pause the interview for a second because I have to pull a bunch of stuff off my SD card because I ran out of room. I was like, wow, how did I? Because it's not a rookie move. It's just one of those things you don't think about, that if you keep interviewing, next interview, and you don't pull that stuff off your portable recorder, in my case, that SD card eventually will run out of space. And I was like, oh yeah, guess I should have done that. So.
Yeah, you just get in the groove of things, and that's one thing you're like, oh crap, I need to change that.
Awesome. Well, in the rebranding, is it going to be a completely different show, or is it going to be just tweaking the one you did?
No, rebranding of the whole show, the whole site, everything, because it kind of went off the rails on my focus, and I'm going to go back to what I originally wanted, and getting a couple interviews to help me with that. It's not going to be a primarily interview show, but I will trickle in a couple interviews here and there just to keep the inspiration going.
Hey, Addie, was Off the Rails successful for you? I mean, is that when you went off the rails, did the podcast get more successful, or did it, in your opinion, did it kind of wane?
It's still pretty lively. I see a couple new listeners here and there, but it hasn't died out completely. I was expecting that, with pod feeding, but I think because if you're on different platforms and you're doing different things, because I'm involved with TV Talk and other podcast shows, people are going to continue to trickle in to see what else you're doing. And I think that's what is keeping that show alive right now. But as of now, I haven't podcasted since, I think, February. So.
So you're not going to keep the old show. You're gonna pod fade it.
Yeah, I'm just going to take it down, and I probably will do like a transition episode and say this is the new Modern Vintage Radio show. This is what it's about, and I'm going to just dive right into it from there.
A great opportunity though. Let me just throw this out to you. If you just don't like podcasting that way, that's another, but if you've lost focus and you created a second podcast that's being successful, why not keep it and do both, right? I mean, in your case it might be different, and your mileage may vary, but there's a suggestion, right? If your existing podcast goes a little sideways and you get off focus, but it's successful, just let that run and then start a new one. Now, not everybody has time to do two, but sometimes you come up with a great idea and your podcast morphs out of your original idea, and you've got two really good things going on. So your situation may be different, but I've watched others morph, and then they feel like they have to come back. It's like, why? If it's being successful, keep going with it.
Okay, good insight. Yeah, I think I'll do that then. Probably do a couple here and there.
Yeah, why not?
I've had people, because I announced that I was going to pod fade my one show, and of course, people who listen have now come out of the woodwork and said, just do one whenever you can. It's no big deal. So I'm like, all right, I might do that. We'll see. Maybe I won't kill it. But and of course, my favorite quote on pod fading and then coming back: no one's going to punch you in the face if you decide to leave and come back. From the one, the only food craftsman himself, Ryan K. Parker. So,
Patty, it was great meeting you.
Like I said, it's always listening to your audience. Always kind of, if the numbers are still showing up, obviously they want more from you. So, I think it's all about listening to the audience.
Right on. Good call.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for helping me.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good weekend.
It was awesome talking to you guys.
It's great.
Likewise.
And
see ya.
Take care. And
Right.
Alan has pointed out that I need to find a quieter keyboard. It really is allowed. I almost want to go.
There was a tip last week about that.
Yeah. Because it really is. If I type anything remotely, if I'm not like tiptoe typing, it's like so.
I mentioned, Mac makes a nice keyboard. They're a little expensive. They're super nice, super durable too, and so that'll be a 10-year keyboard for you if you buy that. But Logitech also makes, if you're on the other side of the tech world, Logitech also makes some really quiet keyboards as well, and even some wireless ones. I'm not a big fan of wireless, but for podcasting, but if you want to go that route, you can. And like I said, I'm going to Staples or your store of choice, whatever that is. Staples, Fry's, Office Max, Best Buy. Those are all U.S. companies. Insert your local tech company or your tech store there, and test them out. They always put them out and just bang on them. Just go in there and start hitting them and see how quiet they are.
Easy to test drive.
Yeah, and they're not terribly expensive. In fact, I think Woot this week ran a Microsoft ergonomic keyboard for like it was Newegg for like $15, and it was one of those shocker deals. And so if you've got an older keyboard, maybe it's time. If you're going to do live, it'd be a good idea to get it out of the way.
Because you can hear me typing now live as I've
a little bit. It adds a little ambiance to the show.
I was like, I need to. Well, I just realized that one of the things I always forget to do is go over to our Google Events page for the live video to say we're not here. We're over at AskThePodcastCoach.com/live.
If we were smart, we'd do that on all of them, right? Spreaker and Google Plus to make sure people know.
And if you're doing any kind of video for your show, I was aware of this, but I don't know that I've ever I think it's one of the things where we think everybody knows that, and it's turning out that not everybody knows this because it didn't used to be the case. You can now put links to your website in your videos. I'm not sure if there's any criteria that you have to meet to do that, but you can actually, like now, at the beginning of the videos for Ask the Podcast Coach, I put a little button that says, click here to subscribe in iTunes, and it goes right to iTunes. And I put a link to the website and things like that.
I need to do that. I need to spend a weekend doing that.
Yeah, it was me. I'm like, I need to. I had a friend of mine talk. Let me make sure I have the website right. I think it's called Fancy Fingers, and it's kind of a virtual assistant kind of website, and it's $25 a month, and you can give them 5 tasks a month. It's not fancyfingers.com. I'll have to Google that. This is the joy of live. We make things up as we go. And what it was is this guy that I interviewed gave me one. He goes, I can give away tasks. So I said, okay, go find what people are charging for audio editing. And I'm going to tell you in about, 10, 15 minutes, we found 4 different websites. Here's their pricing. And so it's the whole thought is when you go to their website, I believe I thought it was called Fancy Fingers. And you go there and you can have them do things like call and schedule this appointment or do this or do some research. I was hoping it was going to say do my show notes for free, but I didn't see that option. But that might be something that, depending on what you're doing, I forget how did I get into Fancy Fingers? What was I talking about? Doing a task. Wow, that was a lovely tangent.
Yeah, it threw me off too.
Oh, you could have somebody at Fancy Fingers go into your videos and do those for you. The only weird thing about that is you'd have to give them your password to your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Or you can hire interns. That's
it. Well, another way around that, if you ever want to have any work done on your website, there's a great website called LastPass, LASTPASS. I think I have an affiliate link. It's free, but it's you go to School
they have
of
a paid version too. We're actually going to talk about that on my show next week.
Thursday. What's one of the really cool things about it is you can have somebody else have a LastPass account, and you can give them access to a password without them seeing it. So they can just log in and get to your stuff, but they never know what it is. And then once they're done with the job, you go in and say, okay, no more soup for you, and they can't have access to that password. So I was like, that's pretty cool, because there are times I'm not a big fan of knowing people's passwords. It's always flattering when people will just say, hey, Dave, go fix my website. Here's my login name and password. I'm like, wow, I didn't even ask for that. And I always delete the email and things like that. I do not want to be responsible for somebody getting hacked. But I thought that's kind of a cool way to do it. I could just say, here, sign up for LastPass and give me access to that password, and then please take it away when I'm done.
It is, and if you're a podcaster and you have a bunch of sites that you've registered for and that you use, Audiophonic, whatever, those sites like that, and you're more worried about podcasting than you are about the security of your passwords, then you're probably using the same password for every site, which isn't great. And LastPass gives you the opportunity. They'll actually create very secure passwords for you. They'll generate them, I'll say. There's an automatic password generator that they have there. And then you can put it in, and LastPass, with the plugin installed, will keep track of all that for you. So we've got tons of information about LastPass over at theaverageguy.tv. So I don't put my site as much on this show, but theaverageguy.tv, search LastPass in my search bar. And I've done 2 shows with their kind of senior marketing director there as we talk about some of the things. It's $12 for their premium version, and that's $1 a month. I mean, it's a super great product. And if you're struggling with your passwords at all, and you should be worried about your passwords, you might want to try LastPass. And I have no affiliate link or relationship with them.
Yeah, the thing I love about it is if I'm someplace that's not my home computer, I can log into LastPass's website and get my login name and password. So it's not a case of
your phone too. They have a for iOS and Android, they also, and Windows Phone, they have a app that you can use, and I've done that several times too. Log in with my phone. So,
Jim, can you go a little longer today?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, because I've got a thing at noon, but I know we started kind of late. So if you want to call in, we'll take another call. It's 845-262-2401. You heard how much fun Addie had, so you can do that. So actually, we have here I'm calling for that, and we have a call in the queue as we speak. So ending in 8065. You are on. What's your name and number and question? You're on with Dave and Jim.
Hi, this is Bill Conrad.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. Hey, I was just checking something. I was on hold for a little bit, and I called through Skype, so maybe Skype's not coming through to you, so I just my iPhone and tried to call you.
No, what I will say is here's the good news. We've had a lot of callers today. It's a little weird when you have a history now of deciphering who's live waiting for you, because I have host room and then underneath I have terminated calls, and there's not a whole lot separating those. So I just happened to look up when I did that. I'm like, wait a minute, somebody's actually waiting here. So my apologies for. Yes, you were on hold for 9 minutes, so I apologize for that. But
that's okay. Hey, Dave and Jim, you're really doing an amazing job with this call-in show. It's as professional as anything, and it's detailed. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Thank you.
You get a lot of followers. I really did. Hey, I was going to call in and say, what has my podcast done for me?
Okay.
I say it's destroyed my sleep habits. I've got up at 4:30 in the morning to work on podcasts. I stayed up till 2 in the morning.
Yeah, I've done that one. I've done that it's 3 in the morning. I got to go to work tomorrow. I've done that one.
It is crazy.
Yeah, so it is. It's like anything else. If you're really passionate about it, I remember growing up. My main passion back then was playing the guitar. And I would come home from school, I would go downstairs and play my guitar. I would come up and eat, and then I would go downstairs and play my guitar till whenever, and it always seemed like time went like that. And it's the same thing with podcasting. There's so many things you can do with it, whether it's finding ways to get better content, finding new ways to connect with your audience, finding where your audience is, and then, today we're talking about contests, maybe different ways to promote your show and get the word out there. So that's a great
idea. I'm going to give a free raft ride down the Truckee.
Yeah, there you go. So,
I raft the Truckee once a week.
Awesome, that'd be cool. So there's all sorts of all sorts of ways to do that, and so there's, and then throw on top of it, about the time you think you got everything right, you're like, maybe I'll change my theme, and then you're back off to the races. So there's always something to play with, and that's we did a podcast review show, and the guy's name was Dave, and he does the Contractor Secret Weapon. And he said that a friend of his had suggested that they start a podcast. And he said he saw him about a month and a half later and said, hey, thanks for the second job. Because it's a lot of work, but on the other hand, they're getting a lot of feedback, and they're getting insights from their audience and their customers and potential customers. And he's going to be doing some consulting now. And so all sorts of stuff like that. And Bill, since you're on the line, I said this in the Google group. I thought it was interesting because it's bluff.tv or bluff TV.
BluffTV.com. You can write bluff anyway now. Just BluffTV.com, because everyone's putting two F's and bluffs will go right there. What that is, it's my catch-all site for my web pages, and then from there you can go to my 2 shows.
Got it. And I was I was surprised that I know your background's in real estate, and you had said that you were going to basically sponsor your own podcast, which is fine. That's basically what I do. And I was concerned that real estate wasn't going to tie in with your kind of entrepreneur stuff. So connect those dots for me, pretty please.
Well, let me tell you what I did. I came back from Afghanistan in 12 December. I basically went back in the military for 5 years, doing civil military operations and other things. And I was so burnt out, I watched YouTube for about 3 months, and I discovered podcasts. Podcasts actually helped me get well. I mean, I wasn't diagnosed with any post-traumatic stress, but I saw a lot of combat in my first tour specifically, and I went to a lot of what we call is ramp ceremonies, being a lieutenant colonel. So it really helped me get well. And then I fell in listening to your show, and I actually took your class family out of California into Nevada. I've been a resident in Nevada for a while, and I finally got my family out. So I did that, sort of got a slow start, but I realized later I have 15 shows now. So I've done a lot of different things, and starting a new real estate company over here, we still have the one in Modesto, is very difficult. And it allows me a point to enter to meet people and to talk about my podcast. But by the way, it's sponsored by my wife's company who is starting up. So it's sort of a breaking the bread to introduce people, because real estate is really a one-on-one relationship developed process. And my wife has a lot of relationships in Modesto, California. So the second thing of that is we've always had referrals, but I'm going to put referrals on steroids. That's where we refer people around the country to a CRS, which is the highest level real estate broker that you can find. And I hope through the podcast to generate those things. But I'll tell you what, my biggest challenge, there's a lot of challenges, a ton of work to do, as you know. It's not simple. Nothing personally, but the podcasters who make a lot of money, teaching, not you, but trying to teach podcasting and webinars have got to be misleading and overselling people. And that's controversy probably, but that's how I feel.
Controversy.
It's true though.
No, we've heard. You're not the first to mention that.
No, you got to be careful. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll just leave it that way. You're not the first to say that.
Hey, let me drive on to one last thing so I make sure I pass this. The one last thing I always say.
Absolutely.
Actually, I got 2 last things.
Well, we'll do one. We'll do one last thing.
Last week and,
okay.
I slept in last week and didn't go over the Apple's. My wife's Fortune magazine I picked up, and it's got a great text section on starting page 53. And it starts about Apple's newest product, Complexity. And what I got from the article was they try to simplify things so much that they create huge complexity for people who know a little bit about computing.
That could be, absolutely. And I know we talked about it a little bit last week with the way they've kind of messed up the subscribe button and things like that. But, yeah, the other thing, if you have one more thing, because I know, are you going to be on the call? You're on the Think Tank today, right?
Yeah, I'm coming back on the Think Tank.
Oh.
Just let me mention one thing. The average guy, I think I'm spazzing out here. The average guy, I love your Favorcon.
Oh, thanks.
Your Favorcon?
Yeah, I love that Favorcon.
At the averageguy.tv?
Yeah, the one we use in the tab, yeah.
Awesome.
How'd you make that?
Christian, actually, one of the hosts made that for me when we cut the website over last year sometime. He actually made that and put it in. So I couldn't tell you how it was done or how to do it.
Yeah, if you Google that, there's a bunch of because it ends up being, I believe, an ICO file, and it's like 32 dots by 32 dots. It's really tiny. So
16. I thought 16 pixels.
It might be even less. Yeah. But, where's Mike Howard when you need him?
I've got two. Politics of Success. I made that when it was easy.
Yeah.
But go to my website, blufftv.com, and you'll find where I start on my podcast. But it's a good thing. So I will see you later on today. We'll talk about mix minus. Hopefully, those are the questions I'm going to ask.
Okay.
That's my goal today, is to set up mix minus so I can actually record on my Mac.
Awesome. We will do that, my friend. I will see you shortly then. Yep.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate
it.
Appreciate it.
Take care, Jim.
All right. And with that, I will give this a shot. There we go. The fun-filled theme music. What a great day.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it? A little
No.
more? How's that? Say one.
A little bit more. A little bit more. I heard it for just a second.
No?
Usually, if I hear it, they hear it on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. You can't hear that at all?
There it is.
Okay. Wow, there's like a weird differentiating of that then. But what a great day. This was fun. Always a great way to start the day anyway on our Saturdays here at askthepodcastcoach.com/live. So if you're listening to this later, it's a lot of fun when it's live. It's a lot of fun when it's not live. I should not that we don't appreciate everybody that downloads later. But boy, the chat room was on fire today, and people calling in. It's always fun when you do that. And I will keep everybody posted, because in theory, between this show and next week's show, I am moving my office. So that means somewhere I got to move and get cable
We should maybe test.
Yeah,
before,
so it'll be.
We should probably. You and I should probably connect before the show next weekend.
I mean, it's the same provider. It's just a different building. But
no.
Yeah.
Anytime you move stuff, you need to test it. So let's practice what we preach.
So that'll be fun. But as always, you can find me at schoolofpodcasting.com. You can find Jim at theaverageguy.tv. And we'll see you next Saturday with another episode of Ask the Podcast Coach. And this would then be the post show. Because the fun thing is, first of all, I can go in and kill the call line. So here we go. There's that.
No callers.
No
callers for you.
Here we go. They'll get to hear it now. This is what it does, I think. No, it doesn't. Okay, it's off. If you're on the phone, it would say that. But it's one of those things I said. I have to remember about 20 after. Like when I said, "Can you stay longer?" I should have started shutting down the show.
Oh no, it's all right.
Because I got to switch over to my.
Usually my Saturday mornings until I won't get busy again. The interns start again in October, so I won't. My Saturdays will get busy again starting first week of October, and we go 7 weeks, and then 7 weeks in February and March, and those are my busy Saturdays. And I run spring and fall, so a few of those things. It's too hot. We got like 4 inches of rain in an hour last night. Everything flooded out here. It's been just crazy.
The beauty of that was yesterday. We had a huge downpour Thursday night. I wake up Friday. Detroit Road is a river. And I had to walk the dog, and you've seen those on like a sitcom where the car drives by and the guy on the sidewalk just gets completely
deluged.
That was me. So I walk in, my wife's like, "Oh, sweetie," so she towels me off. Luckily, I had a coat on, and I went in the kitchen, made my little protein shake, and as I'm shaking this thing, if you don't have this, that goes. That's right. All of a sudden, I was covered in Shakeology. And it was chocolatey and sticky, and I was like, "Really? This is not the best way to start the day."
Deliciousness.
So, yeah, that was.
You were covered in deliciousness.
I was. It was like a meal in a cup on my
on your
pants. Body. Yeah, I was like, awesome. I'm so nutritious at the moment.
I am now wearing my breakfast.
So,
that's hilarious. Yeah.
So that was fun.
Well, we went out to see a movie last night. And,
what'd you see?
We saw that new Tom Cruise movie, Day After Tomorrow or After Wednesday.
I liked it the first time when it was called, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the second time I saw it. So
really? Okay.
So we went. So I like those kinds of movies. But so I'm getting out of I drop him off, and between dropping him off and parking, sheets of rain just coming down. And when we got out of the theater, they were blocking off roads because there was some localized flooding. So we just got pummeled with rain. It's supposed to be more this afternoon too. So I got to get out and mow the lawn. It's that Saturday afternoon thing you got to do.
It is. Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, thanks for a great show, man. I'm gonna go ahead.
Hey, sorry for the problems. I got some troubleshooting.
No,
obviously.
I should have checked it. I just pulled it down and saw like the first letter. I'm like, yeah, that's it, and I didn't really pay attention. So
no.
The other thing that killed that was the fact that where I normally start like an hour before the show, I started like 12 minutes before the show, and I'm like, oh, or whatever, a half hour. So that was
we got her done. So
awesome.
Thanks, YouTubers.
Yep. Thanks, chat room.